Some very interesting notes here. Here are the headlines I wrote down in the commercial break. Mike McCarthy, and this is in response to that Tyler Dunn, Mike McCarthy is fed up. Mike McCarthy isn't too worried about the Cowboys because he believes they will definitely be better in 2024. Is that delusional? He was a little bit irked by Joe Witt not being promoted to defensive coordinator, his guy, instead going to Dan Quinn in D.C. Had a similar close relationship with Rob Davis, who left here after some years. McCarthy was not happy with the timing of the Zeke signing. Not because they signed him. He wanted Zeke signed during the draft process, so he didn't lose him to someone else. Is that delusional? Improvement. Oh, that Mike McCarthy may not view the Cowboys' lack of moves as negatively as the rest of us because of moves like Cooks and Gilmore, and he believes in draft and develop. So some very interesting nuggets here from Calvin Watkins, our guy from the Dallas Morning News on the D&M Leasing Hotline. Good morning, Calvin. Thanks for joining us. How are you, man?
I'm good. What's going on?
You tell us. You're the one that's going and doing some digging here. Obviously, this article that came out, McCarthy fed up, created headlines. What did you find out that kind of countered that?
It really wasn't so much a counter. It was more about, is he fed up with everything? And I think every coach in the league can probably complain about something, with their owner or their general manager. And Mike is no different. Did he want Joe Witt as a defensive coordinator over Mike before they ventured down the path of Mike Zimmer? Yes. But he accepted it and said, okay, I love Mike Zimmer and he's cool. Does he want Dak re-signed and CeeDee Lamb re-signed? Of course he does. What coach who's coaching the Cowboys wouldn't want that?
Right.
Is he understanding that the salary cap has been a detriment to the Cowboys because they've paid so many veterans big money and they haven't really signed, guys like Dak and CD sooner, and that has affected the cap in future years so they could get some veterans? Yes. However, last year, two of the most prominent players on their team they acquired by trade, right? Did he want Zeke Elliott signed a little bit quicker during the draft process? Yes. But they got it done. So there are little things that bother McCarthy. Does he want a contract extension? Well, hell yeah, he does. He likes living here. His daughters are playing volleyball. He lives in Allen. He's enjoying Texas better than what he thought. His wife loves it here. Yeah, who wouldn't want to secure security in their job? So, yes, those are a lot of things that he wants. But is he fed up and he says, I hate Jerry and Steven, the cheapskates? From people I've talked to, that is false. But like I said, every team and every coach in the league can complain about their owner.
Calvin, the first thing that jumped out to me is the main reason he's not worried is his belief the Cowboys will improve in 2024. Now, you know this, covering this team as closely as you do. No fan basically would agree with that assessment and thought. Does Mike McCarthy really believe that they're better compared to last year? For real? He might be right, but right now all of us think that's crazy.
I would agree with you that that's crazy. I don't think this team is as good as it was last year, as it's currently constructed. I think everyone got better in the division, but the Cowboys. The biggest thing they did was get Eric Kendrick, inside linebacker, and they replaced the left tackle and they replaced the center with rookies in the draft. You're going to expect Mozzie Smith, who was last year's first-round pick, to play better. Anything's better than what we saw last year.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think this team is as good as it was last year. But McCarthy believes, he has to believe that we will be better next year. He thinks Dak would be even better this upcoming season. And Dak was like in the MVP conversation. I think he finished second to Lamar Jackson. So I'm not saying McCarthy's crazy, But I'm like, hey, I don't know what he's seeing, but hey, but he's the expert. I'm not. So
Yeah,
we'll find out.
Calvin, do you think Mike has less of a problem with the way they haven't signed people because of the whole draft, develop, and re-sign philosophy that Steven always preaches? Do you think Mike has much less of a problem with the lack of big splash offseason move than the rest of us?
Yeah, I think so, because he looks at it as if draft and develop, C.D. Lamb, Deron Bland, Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons. Those are 4 Pro Bowl players right there. Tyler Smith, forgot about my man Tyler Smith at guard. It's 5 players that you drafted in the last 6-7 years, that have been productive players. So draft and develop does work. Now, the downside to that is when you have players who you've drafted that become excellent players or elite players, I mean, you got to pay them big money. And the problem is the Cowboys have to work a little bit quicker in getting these deals done than what they've had in the past. Dak Prescott's agent, Todd France, was smart. The Cowboys waited a year too late to get Dak taken care of, and then Todd France said, okay, let's get a deal done. Let's get a 4-year deal instead of a 5-year deal.
Yeah.
Because Todd France, we go back to the table. Now they're going back to the table, and the price has gone up, where Dak might get $55 or $60 million on the average salary, which is among the highest in the league, which is what he was getting before. And then now, as you know, other guys get their money. CeeDee Lamb's going to get one of the highest contracts for a wide receiver in the history of the game. Micah Parsons has told us, I'm waiting till next year to get my money because he knows the price is going up.
Yeah.
Micah wants to get one of the highest contracts for a non-quarterback in the history of the game. So the Cowboys can go to his agent, David Mugoleta, and say, hey, we'll give you all this money. And David's going to be like, oh, we'll wait. We're going to wait. We're going to wait.
Yeah.
So you're like, unless you overpay him now, but if I'm Micah Parsons' agent, why would I take the money now? I want to see what CD's going to get. I want to see what Dak's going to get. I want to see what Tua in Miami's going to get. I want to, your guy in Buffalo, he might go back to the table himself because his average salary has dropped because everybody else's contracts have gone up at his position. So the Cowboys are kind of stuck in a tough situation. But at the same time, sometimes you got to say, you know what, the hell with it. Let's just give him what he wants and keep it moving, and let's do it right now.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News, joins here 105 through the Fan. Why are they so hell-bent on Zeke? And
that's a good question. I don't know.
Because it just doesn't make sense. Like the organization went away from paying running backs, and they went away from prioritizing the position. And I'm not saying they're doing that now because they're obviously not. He's not making, he's not making $14 million anymore. But they're bringing him back, and he keeps declining in yards per carry.
Yeah, I think the problem with them is everyone talked about the Zeke contract a couple of years ago, that they should never have paid him, but that's revisionist history. Zeke was holding out. He was still in his prime, and they had to pay him. So now you could talk about the length of the contract and those kinds of things, but they were forced to pay him because he held out. Same thing with Zach Martin. He held out last year. He's going to hold out this year. They're going to pay these guys, right? So my problem with Zeke coming back is there's all kinds of running backs. They're running around out here. You could have found someone younger and maybe for the same price, maybe a little bit higher, and they'd be on your football team. And they didn't do that. In the draft, there were all kinds of running backs running around. We're just waiting to get drafted. Cowboys had a particular round where they thought the running backs would be there in the 3rd and 4th round. They weren't there. They still could have drafted a running back in the 6th or 7th round. They didn't do it. So they were going to bring Zeke back. And I watched Zeke the last 5 or 6 games in New England last year. He did look a lot better. He is healthy. Now is he Zeke Elliott from when you first drafted him 6-7 years ago? No, he's not. He'll never get back to that. But it's almost like Moneyball. So what I mean is, at that position, you want to run the ball 200 times, right?
Yeah.
So we'll divide 200 times among 3 running backs: Zeke, Rico Dow, and Malik Davis. And then CD will get an end around. Dak will do a direct snap or whatever, run the ball. So we'll get out 200 carries from 4 or 5 different guys. The average, we hope, will get to be 4. If you get 4 yards a carry, then you're good. So that's how they're looking at that position. So don't look at Zeke as a 200 carry back. Look at Zeke as he's going to get 170, 175 yards. I'm going to see 170 carries in a season. And everybody else will pick up the difference to get to 200.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News, taking us inside the Mike McCarthy front office dynamic. One of the other things you wrote, Calvin, is some of McCarthy's issues are a byproduct of dealing with today's players. What does that mean?
Micah Parsons. We love Micah Parsons. He's a cool young kid from PA, Pennsylvania. He wants Micah Parsons in for the off-season camp from day one. That's not how Micah operates. Micah operates how he operates. So, and it irked McCarthy that Parsons wasn't in the voluntary workouts at the start of the off-season program. It bothered him. But he understood, hey, this is one of our best players. He's going to be here for the next 5 to 10 years, or however long it's going to be. So I got to manage this. But he was not happy with Parsons not being here. But he increased the communication with Parsons because he knows he needs Micah Parsons on his side. You know, a happy Micah Parsons is a happy football player and a happy football team. So while Mike didn't like the fact that Parsons wasn't there, and Micah works on his own, and he's wrestling sumo wrestlers in Japan, and boxers. Like there was a situation where Micah showed up at the facility for a promo shoot for the team and left and didn't work out. You know, so it's like, well, you can't work out. You're here. Nah, I'm gonna do these photos and pictures and videos, and I'm gonna bounce. You know, I'm gonna work out at McKinney and do some boxing and all that, but I can't come here to the Stars. It's right there, not that far. McKinney and Frisco, not that far. Last I checked. So I think those types of things bothers him, but he's got to learn to manage it because these are today's players. Players today are using their voices more and more. Mike, as you know, does a podcast or a live stream, whatever they're calling it. So back in the old days, you would tell a player, hey, shut up, stop doing that, be quiet. And the player would go, yes, sir. Not today. You can't do that anymore. So he's got to manage that. As you know, Mike grew up old school. He grew up under Marty Schottenheimer. You know, and they were old school Jets with Kansas City back in the 90s. So he's had to learn to live with how players have a voice or using their voices more than ever before.
Calvin, one side topic, final one for you. Do they want to re-sign Dak, or is this a wait-and-see season again?
I think they want to re-sign Dak. I really do. But it's funny, like when you talk to Dak's people, they go, yeah, we want to be here forever. And even Dak will say that. But they also say, if they don't re-sign us, someone's going to pay us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if I'm Dak Prescott, I got a beautiful house in Prosper. You know, I'm good. You know, I got all the money a man could ever want. But if you don't want me here long term, New Orleans will pay me. Vegas will pay me. Maybe the Giants will pay me. There are all kinds of teams that are going to need quarterbacks next year. And the draft's going to have another good crop of quarterbacks coming out. So I think the Cowboys do want to re-sign Dak. But the problem is they're going to have to pay Dak a lot of money. And Jerry Jones is one of the owners in the league that is trying to get the league to say the quarterback position needs his own salary cap because this money is going astronomically high. Like the NBA has got all these different bird rights and mid-level exemptions and all that kind of stuff, and you can re-sign your own guy at a max.
Yeah.
I think the NFL needs to get something to that. They need that in a sense, you know, because like wide receiver, that price is going up. And I've read reports from other people that will say the wide receiver position, that's going to get devalued now because the receivers coming out of college that are ready to go right now. So now receivers, you better cash in now because that's going to be turning into a running back position where they're not going to pay you guys anymore because that price is going up and up and up, you know. So, and the college receivers are ready to go. So, And I think Jerry sees all that and he's trying to manage all this money. And with the quarterback, he does not want to go back to QB purgatory. And you guys remember when Aikman retired, they had nobody at quarterback. They had nobody. Drew Henson and Quincy Carter and, Ryan Leaf and all these guys. And they had Drew Bledsoe and Tony Romo saved the day, and that wasn't even guaranteed. They didn't even know. And then he saved the day. So Jerry does not want to go back to not having a quarterback. And you could say, well, what about Trey Lance? Well, if I'm Trey Lance, I got to beat out Cooper Rush to be the number 2 guy, right?
Yeah.
I got to ball out in the preseason, in the 3 preseason games. I got to ball out, be the number 2 guy. And if Dak doesn't have his contract, I have to at least convince the front office that I could be your guy going forward. I don't know if he can do that. That's the problem, is that there's no one on the horizon they believe in that can replace Dak.
Great article. Thank you for making the time on short notice, and we'll see you on the beach in a few weeks.
Hey, you guys have a great day. Thank you for thinking of me.
Yes, sir. Thank you for giving us content.
Absolutely.
The great Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News on the D&M Leasing Hotline.